Hi, I'm Kenzie. Welcome back to my podcast. If you're just joining, welcome. Today we will be talking about my 15th Blues Clues VHS, Blues Big Musical Movie. Yes, a movie. So grab some popcorn and let's get started. This movie starts out with Blue greeting the viewer. Mr. Salt, Mrs. Pepper, and Paprika have just woken up, and they greet the viewer too. Then they hear snoring coming from Steve. He was still sleeping. There was no time for sleeping. So Blue and the viewer go wake him up while Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper start the breakfast. With help from Tickety Talk, we were able to wake up Steve. Tickety tells him that the big music show was today and he needed to start getting ready. Steve realized this and he started to panic until he asked the viewer for help. He thought this was going to be great. The show is called the You Can Be Anything You Want to Be show. After a song about getting ready for the show, everyone applauds for their performance. Meanwhile, Periwinkle was curious about what was going on and also a little left out. Blue gives Steve a list of all the things they needed to do today. Breakfast was the first one. Periwinkle saw everyone eating breakfast and thought someone said something about a magic show. After a great breakfast, Steve checked it off their list. He showed all the other things we needed to do today. Make the costumes, build a stage, and make our snacks. We really had a lot to do today before the big music show, and I mean a lot. Everyone had something they were going to sing about. Slippery Soap was going to sing about being a captain of a boat. Shovel and Pail were going to sing about being veterinarians. Mailbox was going to sing about being a comedian. Tickety Talk and Blue were going to sing together about being teachers. It's a duet. They showed everyone the song, but soon Tickety's voice started getting raspy. Everyone was worried. They couldn't hear Tickety. She mentioned that her voice wasn't like that this morning, but it was probably from singing too much. Steve assured her that her voice would be all better tomorrow. The thing was, the show was today. Then Tickety had a solution. Instead of singing, she could ring her bells. After all, she is an alarm clock. And so the problem was solved. Not. Blue needed another partner because a duet needs two singers. Tickety told Blue to not give up, and she can go on with a new partner to sing with in the duet. The question was, who could be Blue's singing partner? That's when Blue wanted to play Blues Clues. But first Steve had to add that to the list of things to do. Side Table Drawer then enters the scene, singing which makes the Paw Prince sing right off the screen. Then she had something to ask Steve, but she was too shy to say it. Meanwhile, Mr. Salt couldn't find the flour. Steve told him to try the bottom shelf, but suddenly there was a crash. Steve had to help Mr. Salt in the kitchen and told the viewer to wait with Side Table Drawer. That's when she started singing about how she's going to tell Steve that she wants to sing in the show. When Steve comes back, Side Table Drawer tried to tell Steve again, but all what came out was, "Could I give you your notebook?" Steve said sure. After singing a song about how to play Blues Clues, Steve mentioned that he loved songs. He loved singing songs. He loved making up songs. In fact, he wanted to be a song maker-upper in the big music show. The viewer wanted to be a song maker-upper with Steve. Steve added making up a song to the list of things to do. And so the game Blues Clues has begun. As we were looking for Blues Clues, Steve wondered why he never finds the clues first like the viewer. Just once, he'd like to find a clue first. That's when the viewer spotted the first clue, which is the notebook. After the first clue was found, Periwinkle showed us a magic trick that involved the clipboard with a list of things to do on it. He said the magic words Perry, Pocus, Hocus, Crocus, and made the clipboard appear. He wanted to show Steve the magic trick, but couldn't find him anywhere. Steve finally finds the clipboard. Slippery Soap needed help with finding the hats, while Side Table Drawer had something to ask Steve. Steve needed the viewer to stay with Side Table while he checked out the hats with Slippery. Side Table thought she was going to really tell Steve this time. After having fun with the hats, Side Table tried to tell Steve she wants to do something in the show, but she didn't know what. The thing is, she actually was still too shy about telling Steve the truth about singing in the show. Then Steve thought of a great idea. Side Table could hold all the hats on top of her table because she's a side table, and she holds things on top of tables. The thing is, Side Table was more than just a side table, but she didn't know how to say it. Then Tickety enters the scene asking what she should do with the paints. Pail enters the scene asking what she should do with the stethoscope and police badge props. Mailbox enters the scene asking what he should do with wood and a clothesline. Slippery enters the scene asking what he should do with the brushes. Shovel enters the scene asking what he should do with the costumes. Magenta and Green Puppy enter the scene and brought more stuff. Everyone was wondering what they should do with all the stuff. Blue had an idea. We could put the things together, like the stethoscope prop with the doctor's coat, which makes a doctor's costume. Now we had costumes. Magenta wanted to put together the paper with the scissors so she could cut the paper. Slippery wanted to put together the brushes with the paint so he could paint things. Even the stage needed a curtain. Everyone did a great job putting together the costumes and stage that Steve checked them off the list. The next thing on the list was snacks. Then Periwinkle finds Steve and wanted to show him something. Mr. Salt asked Steve where the chocolate chips were. Steve said they were on the bottom shelf. Periwinkle was about to show Steve the magic trick, but Mr. Salt kept interrupting because he still didn't know where the chocolate chips were. Steve kept reminding him the bottom shelf. Suddenly, there was another crash. Steve went to go see what's happening in the kitchen while the viewer waited with Periwinkle. He decided to show the viewer another magic trick. After saying the magic words, he made the green knob disappear. This was his best trick ever that he had to show Steve. That's when the viewer spotted the second clue, which is a knob. Steve wanted to find it, but he couldn't. He tried. After finding the second clue, Steve checked his list to see what we have to do next. They had their breakfast, they made their costumes, the stage was ready, and the snacks were made. They still had to play Blue's Clues, but they were getting pretty close. Steve was about to check off making up a song, but it turns out we still needed to do that. That's when Blue had another idea. She skidooed into a page of music. Steve did too. Suddenly, music came out of nowhere. Well, actually, it came from the keyboard. Every time Steve stepped on the key, it made music. He thought maybe he can use the keyboard to make up a song. He tried his best, but nothing. Then we are introduced to a character named G. Clef, voiced by none other than Ray Charles. He wanted to help us with the song. We learned about what notes were. Some were high and some were low. So Steve picked up some notes for the song. They were high D, A flat, and F. Yes, I actually memorized the notes Steve picked. Pretty impressive, huh? Anyway, Steve thought the song needed something else. He needed rhythm, which we tried making before. Rhythm is about making notes that are short and long. So Steve added rhythm to the song, but he still thought it still needed something else. He needed tempo. Tempo is about how fast or slow a song goes, like a train. So Steve added tempo to the song. We had notes, rhythm, and tempo. He sang the song. He liked it, but thought it needed a little something else. G. Clef said we needed to give the song heart and soul. So we did. After a song about all the things we learned about music, Steve and Blue skidoo back home. Then Steve checked off making up a song from the list. We still had one more thing left to do. Find the last clue to find a partner for Blue. And maybe this time, Steve would find the clue himself. Periwinkle enters the scene and tells Steve to not move so he can get his stuff. Then Tickety and Blue enter the scene to tell Steve to come help Slippery. Periwinkle was disappointed because Steve was just so busy. He thought he was never going to show his magic trick to him. Meanwhile, Slippery was having trouble with his performance. He kept slipping, but Steve reminded him when something goes wrong, don't give up. Just go on. So Slippery does just that. He didn't give up and went on. He did great. The mailbox enters the scene to tell Steve the neighbors were here for the show already. Steve needed to collect their tickets, but he couldn't. He needed to find the third clue. Mailbox couldn't do it because he needed to practice his jokes. Steve thought Side Table Drawer would be perfect for the job, as long as she didn't have to wear the hats anymore. Side Table reluctantly agreed to do the job of collecting tickets, but she was still upset that she didn't tell Steve about singing in the show. Then Steve went on to search for the third clue. After a while, he started to lose hope. He thought he would never find the third clue, but his friends reminded to not give up and just go on. After some encouragement, he found the third clue. It was a time of great amazement. The third clue was on a drawer. That's when Steve realized we had all three clues and it was time to sit in the thinking chair. It was time to think. Fast. The show was about to start soon. We were trying to figure out who could be Blue's singing partner, and our clues were our notebook, a knob, and a drawer. At first, Steve thought Blue's singing partner was him because he had a notebook, but he didn't have a knob or a drawer. Then he thought some drawers have knobs and can hold the notebook in the drawer. The viewer guessed correctly that Blue wants Side Table Drawer to be her singing partner in the big music show. At that point, Steve realized we just figured out Blue's Clues. After the celebratory song, Steve checked playing Blue's Clues off the list. We had finished everything, and now the big music show can go on. Steve wanted to tell Side Table, but he soon realized she was collecting tickets. But he goes outside anyway and tells everyone he found the third clue, figured out Blue's clues, and everything. They all went to tell Side Table, but she was missing. They were about to find her when Periwinkle entered the scene. He wanted to show Steve the trick. They made a deal. If Periwinkle finds Side Table drawer, then he can show Steve the trick. So Periwinkle and the viewer went to find Side Table drawer. They found her sitting all alone and sad. She never got to tell Steve she wanted to be in the show. Periwinkle knew exactly how she felt. Steve never got to see any of his magic tricks. That's when Side Table started to sing. Periwinkle listened. He really liked her singing. Side Table then realized she had to tell Steve she wants to sing in the show. Then Periwinkle had an idea. He could make Side Table appear and everyone could hear her song. She thought that was a great idea. So Periwinkle hid Side Table under his cape and told the viewer to yell, "Everyone come here!" So everyone came and saw the trick. Side Table drawer had appeared. She sang the song about wanting to sing in the show. Steve just didn't know, but then he tells Side Table Blue wants her to be her singing partner. Side Table was so glad that she asked because now she gets to join the cast. Steve told Periwinkle that was a fantastic trick. Now that Side Table drawer was with everyone, we could go on with the music show. Periwinkle got confused. He thought everyone was doing a magic show. He didn't want to sing. He hid under his cape. Tickety told him to not give up and that maybe there was something else he could do. Then Purple Kangaroo enters the scene and wonders what's going on and when the show was going to start. It turned out nobody was ready and needed more time. That's when the viewer thought Periwinkle could entertain the audience while everyone else is getting ready. That way he could be in the show too. So Steve told the audience before they began, we had a very special opening act starring the amazing Periwinkle. As Periwinkle was putting on a magic show, everyone was ready. Periwinkle was just finishing up. Then Slippery was on next. Suddenly he slipped, which was just what he was afraid of. Tickety had an idea. They sneaked onto the stage and sang a song about not giving up and just going on. Slippery saw them and he did his performance. Then Shovel and Pail did their performance. Even Snail got a chance to be in the show. Then it was Mailbox's turn. The problem was he got stuck. Steve and the viewer got him unstuck and Mailbox did his performance. Then Blue, Side Table, and Tickety did their performance. After everyone got a chance to perform their songs, all that was left was the viewer and Steve. The problem was Steve forgot the words. Luckily, the viewer remembered. So they went out and performed. Everyone had a fantastic time singing and dancing. After an awesome day, everyone got their hats and Steve said it was time to say so long. But sing just one more song. Everyone took a bow and said goodbye. And that's how the movie ends. Now let's talk about the movie as a whole. I feel like kids can learn a lot if they want to learn about music and putting on a show. Also, this movie made me learn that putting on a show is fun to do and to never give up just like the characters. All in all, it's a great movie. I love Blue's Clues, whether it's in episode form or movie form. So yeah, that's Blue's big musical movie. If you would like to play again, just go back to the beginning of this episode. And remember, you can do anything that you want to do. Bye!